At 6 o'clock. Roll call, or let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Hoffman?
Present.
Mr. Napier is not
He is excused.
excused? Okay.
Excused absence, yes.
Okay. Ms. Sarda?
Present.
Mr. McGinn?
Present on Zoom.
Thank you. Mr. Newhart?
Present.
Ms. Reed?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Present.
And Mr. Middleton is excused. Thank you.
Excused. All right, and if everybody has had a chance to review the minutes and there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And then Mr. Kilgore.
Okay. So this is our third quarter report. We had a few budget adjustments that were approved by the council during the quarter, so I list those on the Exhibit A of the report, or the agenda item and the resolution. There was one other expenditure out of R&R fund, a minor expenditure for $1,148, so we will be asking council with this adoption of this resolution to amend the budget for that. And I've given you the adjustments made by the city manager. What he did is to recognize a couple of grant programs that we received during the quarter. When we go to the report on the general fund, the revenues are 79.5% collected, and expenditures were 69.2% expended. So we're doing well as compared to being at 75% of the year. Most of the excess in general fund revenues is because of the ad valorem taxes, of course, being almost fully collected. In the bottom right of that page, I show the balance of general fund reserves and forecast it for the end of the year. I include the expenditures that were made year to date out of the R&R fund. Out of the $275,000 that we are allocated for that, we've only spent $37,601. So we're doing quite well as far as unexpected expenditures that require the use of the R&R. American Rescue Plan Act. These are the original appropriations made by the City Council. We just recently, at the last meeting, which will be in the next quarter, have reallocated the $750,000 towards Human Drive to road improvements. And then we have reallocated monies out of DST in a future year for the Human Drive project. But we did want to have the additional funds to apply towards the roads and accompanying swale work that's needed on the roads. On the next page, I show you the stormwater fund and its expected expenditures. We are spending a portion of reserves this year. We won't get the kind of revenues that we need really to fund the entire amount of expenditures. So as I reported with the budget forecast, that the reserves are steadily declining as we spend more than we're taking in. As far as the golf course, the expenditures are only 53% of the budget. A large part of that is because of the purchase of the golf carts. We have not paid for those carts as yet, even though they've been delivered. And actually, we're in the process of selling the old carts. And of course, those funds will come back to the golf course as well. The airport, spending is at 66.7%. Revenues are at 78%. We are expecting that reserves will the reserves will actually be almost what we had projected when we constructed the budget for this year. Building fund, of course, no problem there as far as revenues, and expenditures are well within the operating budget because we do budget an additional position in case we'd be able to fill an additional building inspector position, which are rather difficult to find and of course always needed in the building department, and probably will more so as we move on to the future years. I don't generally go into the detailed expenditure sheets. I show you all the funds that we have. I provided the standard investment report showing where our monies are located between Seacoast Bank, State Board of Administration, and what is called Florida Trust, which is a short-term investment pool that's authorized by the state to invest some of our funds there. The interfund loans, we are progressing on paying those down, and we have no debt to outside parties. The balance of the report are the accomplishments and reports from all the departments on what their activities have been for this past quarter. And with that, I would open it up to any questions.
All right, we'll start down with Mr. Newhart.
No questions.
Okay. Bruce?
Of course. Ken, you make the comment about the ad valorem tax collections, 98.7. Is that as high as we've ever been? The tax collections seem to be extremely good this year.
Well, we construct the budget based on assuming that we'll collect 96% of what we levy. So it kind of depends on how many people are taking advantage of the up to 4% discount.
Yeah.
But there is probably another $10,000 or $20,000 that's come in since this amount was received. So I'm expecting that.
Think we could get to
compare
99%? Wow, that would be incredible. That's pretty good. See what and that's where my next question leads. So we're going to get, are there some people that only pay the stormwater? Why don't the stormwater fees and the ad valorem taxes line up the percentages? Because they both come in the same bill, or are there some people that pay the stormwater fees, or some pay those and don't pay real estate taxes, or there are real estate taxes, but everybody gets charged for both, right? Or are there exemptions on some? Because we're at the stormwater fees collected compared to budget are 99.8. And, okay, 0.7, but you would think if everybody's paying what they owe on the numbers, I mean, it's off 0.1, but...
Well, the tax roll for stormwater is, X amount. We collect X amount minus 2%.
Oh.
That goes to the tax collector, so that sways the number a little bit.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, that'll handle that. Okay, one other question. Building fund summary. Licenses and permits, the revenue is only 55.6% of the budget. Wow, I thought we were still collecting like crazy.
Oh, okay. Licenses and permits includes business licenses. Business licenses are due in October.
Oh,
So the
okay.
bulk of those payments come in like at the end of August and
In
September.
September, so this is just a recognition of the delay in the way, okay, in the normal course of business, okay. I'm fine, thank you.
All right, Mr. Hall?
I have no comments tonight.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr.
I said I have none.
Oh, no comment? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Mr. McGinn.
Oh, Mr. McGinn, my apologies. Go right
That's all right,
ahead.
I'm coming in from the cloud. I have a double question. Under the golf, it shows the range netting budget at 88,000, but none paid, but I thought we've already installed that. And if you go over to the airport summary, it shows range netting for 36,000. Is there range netting charge to the airport that has something to do with the different land, or should it be all in the golf?
The golf course, owed 88,826 for replacing the golf netting, the golf course
Right.
netting. On the airport property at the same time, we proceeded with $36,834 to replace a netting that protected part of their property.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't part of the golf course driving range netting, but it was adjacent, on an adjacent lot that,
Okay, that expenditure didn't show up in the year-to-date yet, which means we haven't been billed for what we've already done?
right, the actual expense will be shown on the next quarterly report. It happened after June 30th.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGinn. Looks to me like we're ahead of schedule on most accounts, and I think we're gonna come out pretty decent in the end. And, if nobody has questions, oh yeah, go ahead, right ahead.
So how'd we make out on our recommendation to city council to increase the stormwater fee? Were we able to get that through? Or could they, even before you do that, we were going to inquire to the county's tax people if we could get it in and increased?
Ken, do you want me to answer that? Madam Chair, if I may.
Absolutely.
So based on our research and what we've been able to find out, I'm not comfortable that we have enough time to do an assessment on how much we have to increase the stormwater fees, even $2. Provide council with an assessment of that. Also go through the formal process of the resolution. There's some questions whether we have to adjust an ordinance because it was done by ordinance previously and it states a specific amount in there, so then it brings in public hearings.
Okay.
So I think at this time, we're gonna hold back on that and then proceed with doing a full assessment to be prepared for next fiscal year.
That's fine. You're absolutely, yeah, I agree with what you guys have done. Yeah, if it's in by ordinance, then that puts restrictions on how quickly we can move, yeah, and how it gets done. Thank you.
Hey, Brian, it's Terry McGinn. When you're going over the stormwater fee, are you gonna look to see if we could use substantially more than $2 since we're gonna push it another year? Will there be an amount that you've determined you'll need to balance that?
Yes, so our plan is to do a full assessment on what we anticipate our expenditures to be in future years and what exactly we're gonna need after the stormwater master plan is presented and begin that implementation process. So that's where we'll do a full assessment and have a lot more details and be better prepared to go forward in next fiscal year with kind of a number that we think is adequate to start those projects.
Okay. I attended the last council meeting, but Do we have a new goal on on when the stormwater master plan will be completed since we got behind?
Yes, so we have received a final, report from our consultant. Staff is reviewing the document. It's about 1,700 pages, including all the appendix that are involved. So it's taking us some time to go through it all, and, we do anticipate in the coming months to have a presentation before City Council. And that'll all lead us into the, preparation for the potential stormwater fee increase for next fiscal year.
Well, God bless you that you're doing the 1,700 pages and not me.
All right, if there, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Ken, can you explain the doc self-insurance one more time as it appears in the fund balance? Is it fully accounted for, not accounted for, is it fully funded out of the adjusted reserves and earmarked for doc self-insurance, or is it projected as that's the amount that you want to work toward in the future?
That was my, my game plan, basically, to have it funded out of general fund for 2 years, and then switch the $3 million account to discretionary sales tax.
So at the end of this fiscal year, it would be totally funded to the 3 million, and then going forward, it'd be reduced down or reallocated.
I figured 250 out of general fund, but I must say, and I haven't even briefed Brian on this, but I've run into some issues as far as us doing a self-insurance program.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some research over the last couple work days, and it seems that FEMA reserves the ability to self-insure facilities to the state. There's some wording in there that you can apply to the state insurance commissioner, and if he opines that your program is adequate,
Right.
et cetera, we would have to put the monies in a separate trust account, which I kind of thought we would anyway, but, so I'm not sure I can do that. I'm thinking I'm going to have to revert and adjust the budget recommendation just to pay the premium, even though it's.
Because the way it looks like on your summary page, it looks like the 3 million is coming out of an adjusted reserve of 9 million, and that it's fully allocated or not allocated, earmarked for self-insurance for the
At
dog.
the time I prepared the report, that was my thinking. But what
Okay.
I'm saying is I'm not sure I can,
But is that a real number, the 3 million right now, as available this year if it were needed?
we haven't finalized the budget. So I'm not sure at this stage. We haven't amended our draft where the comments are made by the city
So
council.
let me rephrase that. If things continue on the way that you had anticipated here, going into next year, you would have that as part of the fund balance earmarked for doc self-insurance until you could get the program approved and it moved into a separate fund for the holdback and all for
What
self-insurance.
I'm saying, I'm not confident that we'll get a program approved.
And if we
I'm
don't,
thinking we're
then
just
are we
locked in.
going to have an excess of another $3 million above our 5? You've got adjusted reserves of 9.3 million, assigned funds, employee payouts, and doc self-insurance, bringing the unassigned reserves down to 5.2 million, which is the target for it we've all been trying to maintain.
But there's always the caveat, is I know you're familiar with, about using reserve monies to balance a budget.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, once you take your shot the first year and then you expect to fund some ongoing program the next year, pretty soon those reserves are gone. So it's not
Right.
good practice not to have balance your revenues with your expenditures for the year, even though we might have those reserve monies.
Well, I didn't think this was set up as a recurring expense. I thought it looks like it's set up as an amount that would be transferred into the holdback required for an insurance program.
That was my original thinking.
So, Mr. Hall, is your question, what happens to the $3 million if we don't follow
Exactly.
through? Okay, so where will that $3 million go to? Back into general?
We could use, it would stay in general fund.
Okay, and so then that would increase our 5 million holding to 8 million?
Yes.
Okay, and then what would the plan be with it after that? If that's your question, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
What would,
What would the plan be? Because we keep 5 million in holding. So then what would the plan for the 3 million be after that? Just increase the 5 million to 8 million, or would we earmark it for something else?
you could presume that that we would have 8 million in the bank instead of 5,
Okay,
that's free and clear of any.
okay, and then we
Earmark,
just don't
yes.
really have a plan for it as of yet?
But there again,
until-
you look out into the future, and if there's capital expenditures or
Yeah.
one-time things,
And
Okay.
if not, then we'd entertain a tax cut, you know,
yes.
make Larry Napier happy.
Well, we've talked about, the reserves we would have for, not only the R&R, but the, like employee payouts on their retirements. I've made some provision for that, but we may want to refine those numbers as well, or maybe give us a little bit more cushion if we can.
Okay,
Ken?
It's kind of unsettled for now. Just understand that this is still
Oh,
a
yeah.
draft.
But in a perfect world, that we would end up with an additional 3 million to the fund balance. And that's what I was questioning, is that what I'm reading here? And the answer is yes, so.
It
okay.
doesn't go away, right?
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Ken?
McGinn?
Oh, I'm sorry. Based on what you just said, about self-insuring, is there another option where you could greatly increase the deductible on those docks and thereby lower the premium, knowing that you would be using, funds from, the city to pay the increased deductible?
Yeah, FEMA's guidelines, they require you have insurance. The best insurance you can find in the situation. Increasing the deductible if the insurer will write that kind of policy is a possibility, and we're going to be looking at that as well with the insurance broker. The problem is we've got a very limited market of people that will even, or companies that will even insure docks. So we searched, I know he went to Lloyd's of London, he went like practically all over the world and everything he could do to find us this policy, so.
Okay.
But we will be looking at that possibility. Of course, pretty soon, when I read the details of the policy we have, the net benefit is why I came up with, or trying to come up with an alternative, because for the value we're getting for paying the annual premium, it just seems like the maximum we could recover, because they got limits on what they'll pay out. It's not just totally replacement cost, it's, a certain percentage of the damages, depending on the event, and if it's a declared disaster or not, so it's pretty involved.
In other words, it's a bad deal, is what you're saying.
Yes, we will look at that, Terry.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions from the board? Yes, Ms. Reed?
I have just one, and the budget and everything for the third quarter is fine with me. I don't have my other notebook with me. Do we have another meeting before the final version is sent to council? Or does it just get amended and then they discuss it?
There's nothing in the formal budget calendar that we set out to have a meeting.
Okay,
for an additional meeting. There have been times in the past where we've decided the circumstances, needed for us to
Yeah.
get together, and we set a,
yeah, I just didn't have my notes, so I didn't know if there was another one, so. I'm good.
All right.
And based on Grace's question, and anyone who's attended the last council meeting, would it be appropriate to have one more meeting, given the fact that they are now seriously looking at the final trim notice and the tax increase? It was there's a motion with the council that was pretty significant. Not to go into that subject, but just considering one more meeting.
I think as a committee, if we decide we would like another meeting, we can do that, but,
we would
have to be
have to try to
consensus.
fit it into the
Yeah.
city's calendar, but
Yeah.
for that reason.
Scheduling might be an issue.
Well, I think the last time it was pretty straightforward. We were all, except for one, in agreement on the millage recommendation and all, and based on that, there was really no need for another meeting.
Yeah,
Right, I agree, because they agreed just for the trim
yeah,
to put it up there, but they can still be lower,
yeah.
depending on what they decide.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we just kind of put it in council's hands to make the best decision moving forward. We've given our opinion, and we just go from there. Any comments down here? Agree? All right. I would love to entertain a motion to approve the third quarter.
I make a motion to approve the third quarter
Second,
financial report.
I'll second.
Thank you. Ms. Reed? All right.
A vote.
Oh, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Any further business? Any other comments for our last meeting of the budget cycle? Okay. Well, in that case, we are adjourned. Thank you.